Alright, so back here on the 1978 Toyota pickup and working on trying to get the rear end assembled. So already got the coilovers and everything. I had to go get a different hardware here because I had used the hardware that I think originally was going to go for the coilover mounts. I'd used that to temporarily mount the rack, which is now probably going to be permanently mounted, and so I had to get some new hardware there. And then, ended up getting the panhard bar squared away, and everything's looking okay, and like it's doing suspension things, so it'll go up and down. There's no weight on it right now, and the coilovers, the springs are bottomed out all the way to the bottom, and it's a bit high, and this bed ain't very heavy, so we'll see what that's going to look like. So I'm not sure. I might end up having to add some ballast, or with the spare tire in the back. Gas tank don't weigh very much, so I'm not sure what that's going to look like, but either I'll have to get some lighter springs or ballast or something, because I'm pretty sure it's about an inch high right now, and them springs are bottomed out, so it's only going to get taller if I move anything. The other thing is, the way that it is now, since the springs aren't compressed very much, any little tiny bit of droop and the springs come away from the perches, which you don't really want that. Even if it's drooped out, you want it to be able to stay seated, especially with a perch like this. You can see that it's just notched here, and that slides over the piston for the shock, and that captures the spring on the top. If that droops down and somehow that gets bound up or twist or whatever, that could be real bad. So certainly don't want that to happen. So we'll see as I get stuff more assembled if those springs are going to work. I don't know the answer to that quite yet. So the other issue I have, you can see this crazy ass contraption I got working here. So these caps here for the axles don't fit inside the rotor. So the outer diameter of this is like 6 1/4, and the inner diameter of the rotor is 6 3/16, and so it don't fit. And so I'm gonna see if I can redneck machine this down a little bit. So I got the drill set up here with the socket strapped down to the transmission jack, and I'm going to spin the rear end, and as I do that, I'll use a flap disc and see if I can take like a 16th off. I think, my guide here is there's a bit of a ridge right here, and I think my guide will end up being that ridge, to see if I remove it down past where the that little chamfer is on the edge there, if that's enough material, and then I'll recut a new chamfer on either side. So alright, well, haven't tried it yet, so y'all can see this hilariousness happening in real time in the same way that I'm figuring it out. Cruise control is not working. I don't seem to hardly be doing nothing. Might need to use a grinder. Nope. Well, that looks like progress. So I wasn't able to get past the front of it before. Like I couldn't even see the threads previously, and now I can. And so it's not quite there yet, but it does look like that's going to work. So I'll just be nibbling away little by little to get that down seated in there and see if we can get some rotors on this thing. So, all right, thanks. See you in the next one.